Hello everybody, I'm Eternal Flame here, and today I'm here to talk about the Sukuna speech that happened in chapter 248. And I'm here more importantly to talk about how this speech ends up spelling out the defeat of Sukuna and why it's so absolutely important both to understanding Sukuna and also understanding how Sukuna is going to end up losing and what the big mistake Sukuna is about to make. So let's get straight into this video. Now this video is basically going to be split into two sections, where the first section will be about the first part of this speech, how this gives such a really good analysis of Sukuna's character and a deep dive of Sukuna's character, much better than we have ever gone in the past. And the second part will be about how this spells out the downfall as well as the relationship between Yuji and Sukuna. With the internal dialogue beginning here. Did that sorcerer's death disappoint me? The thought of needing someone else to fulfill me never crossed my mind. Exactly. If I want to eat, I eat. If I see an eyesore, I kill it. And if it entertains me, I throw it a bone. That's who I am, I haven't changed. The perfect thing to pass time until I die. Right, a way to pass time until my death. That's all other people are to me. Now this part of the internal dialogue is very, very important for understanding Sukuna. After all, the first part of it is about Sukuna being confused about something, about how a sorcerer's death could disappoint him, and why he's trying to get himself back on track, as it also goes on to show which part of the speech really has the biggest hold on Sukuna. Which part of the speech he gave to Kashimo about how he lives his life has the biggest hold on how Sukuna lives his life. Where the first part about the thought of meeting someone else and that never crossing his mind is something Sukuna completely agrees with, but it doesn't really have much effect on him because that's how he lives his life anyways. And the second part is, if he wants to do something, he does something, and that's who Sukuna still believes he is. That hasn't changed about him at all. But the most important part about all of this is the mention of death, the perfect thing to pass time until I die, because that is what Sukuna wants. That is what Sukuna gives the most effort to actually in the internal dialogue between these three panels. It's especially important with the mention of that's all other people are to me, which is more so just implying they're a method to get that death. It's really just implying more and more and honing in on the fact that I think Sukuna wants to die. Whether he knows it or not, he wants to die and he is done with life, because he doesn't have any ambition other than just living life how he wants. Or, well, saying he wants to die might be a little bit inaccurate. What might be more accurate to say is he is okay with death. He has accepted the fact he is going to die and accepted the inevitability that one day someone will be able to kill him, whether it's these sorcerers, whether it's something else like the merger, but someday something will be able to kill him, and he is waiting to pass time until that time where something is actually able to kill him and take his place as the strongest. Either that or for a natural phenomena like the world itself likely to eventually kill him, which is likely what he is waiting for. However, seeing Yuji be this strong is annoying him in some way, shape, or form, which is what we're going to get into with the second part of the internal dialogue of Sukuna. Where Sukuna has a flashback back to what he told Jogo about how Jogo lacked the hunger to take hold of his desires, and it continues back to the speech that he gave Kashimo, where he says, I live how I choose. If you're unable to measure up to that, blame yourself. And he then goes on to say, I'd never thought about it. Ideals, desires that go beyond oneself. Their current ideal is simply to kill me. Those standing before me now are but martyrs, willing to die for their ideal. So just what is this irritating feeling? Men of the same stature challenged me 1,000 years ago too. Could that mean the one who's changed over the past millennium is me, and you're the crux of that brat? My opponent 1,000 years ago were other people. Their motivations, their ideals, I couldn't even begin to understand any of it. They seemed to me as nothing more than dying wishes. There were those who boasted strength they didn't have. There were those obsessed with themselves, but this is different. Our souls were forced to coexist within the same body. No matter how many times I break him, no matter how many times I break his soul, he'll get right back up. Because he possesses an indomitable ideal. The idea that a weakling far, far below me can rival me with nothing but strength of will and maintained ideals, that is something deeply unpleasant. My capabilities were simply too great. I wasn't bound by ideals. In fact, I loathed them. That's the sort of human I was. Don't consider this to be a change of plans. Right now, just this once, I decide to take your ideals and mince them to bits. Now this shows two very, very important aspects of Sukuna, so I want to go over the lesser important thing first, which is how Sukuna has always viewed ideals, because going over this will help us to understand the second most important thing, which is how this is truly spelling out the defeat of Sukuna himself. What this internal dialogue introduces about Sukuna is the fact he doesn't really believe that anyone truly believes in their ideals. That those ideals they had about actually taking out Sukuna, whether it was for the greater good, or just because Sukuna is too much of a destruction to the world, that was just their dying wishes. That they always had another reason why they were fighting, whether to prove something about themselves, whether to because they were so full of themselves. Sukuna could never truly understand anyone because there was always that possibility that they weren't fully fighting in order for their ideals. That even if there were people like Yuji in the past, which Sukuna is implying the possibility that there were people like Yuji in the past, there was never truly a way to confirm it. To truly confirm if there are people who are fully into this just for the pure purpose of killing Sukuna. Everyone who fought him could always have a potential motive underneath the surface. One Sukuna could never truly understand because he could never truly read their mind, never truly understand their thoughts. However, that is why Yuji is the absolute exception to this very rule. Because of the fact that Yuji and Sukuna bonded with each other and made a bond through soul of each other, unwillingly because both of them hate each other to the brim. In a way, no one understands Yuji better than Sukuna does, because Sukuna knows how Yuji thinks, and that is something that irks Sukuna down to his very core and being. The fact that Yuji truly just wants to kill him, that there is no doubt in his mind, no way he can possibly rationalize that Yuji's ideal is just to kill Sukuna. Whereas with everyone else, there is always some way, shape, or form for Sukuna to be able to rationalize it, in the way he says himself, that those always just seem like death wishes to him. Nothing more than that, and that is what Sukuna is so incredibly used to until he was forcefully bonded to Yuji, someone who was able to get this strong. Sure, Yuji was not as strong as Sukuna yet, but it's through this level of strength and ideals, with the only ideal to kill Sukuna, that's allowed Yuji to reach the level of strength he has reached now. Furthermore, he also acknowledges the fact that Yuji, unlike others, has a truly indomitable will. One he can't just simply kill, because no matter what, that will keep coming back. And even if he were to kill Yuji Itadori right here and now, it wouldn't prove anything, because it would prove that it is possible to gain strength just for the power of one's ideals. Something that completely slaps in the face of the very reason and way Sukuna lives his life. Where Sukuna lives his life without ideals, without any of that, with the only thing guiding it being strength. But if someone were to be able to reach his level, or even get close to his level, while sticking to their ideals, it would slap Sukuna in the face. It would slap everything Sukuna stands for. And now we're going to get into the second part about how this spells out the defeat of Sukuna, and why this is the most likely way that Sukuna is going to be defeated by Yuji later in the future. And that is for the simple reason that Sukuna's goal has changed to something that Sukuna can't ever accomplish, so he will never win. Which Sukuna's new goal is no longer to kill Yuji, no longer to kill all the characters. Sukuna's new goal is quite simple, really, when it comes to Yuji in specific, which that new goal is to break his soul, to break that indomitable will that had been crafted and amplified throughout all of Jujutsu Kaisen, whether it's through Todo's words that helped to motivate him even further in Jujutsu Kaisen when Yuji and Todo were battling against Mahito, or Megumi putting his faith in him, or even Sukuna himself showing his dangers, amping Yuji's resolve and will even more. All of these together had crafted a strong will in Yuji, one that was now indomitable, now unbreakable, that would continue moving forward and forward until the mission was complete. Maybe then that would be when Yuji's allowed to break. But until that point, Yuji will not break, but Sukuna wants to change that. Sukuna wants to break Yuji's will, because of the simple fact that even if he kills Yuji, even if he took Yuji out right here and now, the issue would always exist that someone was able to become this strong just based on their ideals alone. That Sukuna's strength couldn't fully crush those ideals. That there was someone who could live their life trying to kill him, trying to enact their way and get this strong just through the strength of their ideals alone. That thought is something that I believe makes Sukuna creeped out. It's a thought that Sukuna absolutely hates, and it's why he wants to crush Yuji's will so absolutely badly, and it's why I believe that this will ultimately be the ultimate downfall for Sukuna. Both Sukuna and Yuji both have traits of each other they are funnily enough lacking, however one is much easier to get than the other. Sukuna lives guided by his strength. That alone is all that matters to him. His strengths allow him to act out any will that he has, any whim that he has. However, he is now confronted with something that he believed didn't matter in the past, thanks to the level of strength and ascendance that he had achieved. which that is an ideal. An incredibly strong ideal. It wouldn't matter how strong the power is in front of them, that ideal would never shatter. And sure, the holder of that ideal could be cut down, but the existence of that ideal would continue to exist, and that is what Sukuna is sorely lacking. He has the power to cut down any wielder of that ideal, but the ideal itself would always continue to live on in his brain unless he could break the wielder of the ideal rather than just cutting them down. The wielder of an indomitable ideal. However, Yuji is the wielder of this indomitable ideal, but he lacks in the power to be able to fight Sukuna. Of course, reaching the Sukuna level of power, or a power strong enough to be able to fight Sukuna and take him down, whether with others or alone, is a near insurmountable task. However, it is still possible, and much more likely to happen than the unbreakable soul that is Yuji finally breaking. Because Sukuna, I don't actually think can break Yuji's soul. Everyone who is going to die will pass their will onto Yuji, and that will be Sukuna's downfall. Even though he will keep taking out more and more people, more hopes to be trusted into Yuji, and it will leave Sukuna with likely one of two choices. Either A, eventually be taken out by Yuji, as that is what's likely eventually to happen, or B, Sukuna taking down Yuji once and for all, but having to live with the reality there was a will he could never dominate. A person who could rival him without the necessary amount of strength to rival him, that instead had the level of a will to rival him, that could rival him in wills without the strength that he believed was necessary for happiness to be able to live. After all, Sukuna believes that weaklings should not be able to be happy, that weaklings do not deserve this happiness. However, here is Yuji, living the way he wants to, despite not having the necessary strength in order to back it up, in order to back up those ideals, but those ideals continuing to live on strong nonetheless. So strong to the point where Sukuna can't deny them, because Sukuna knows them better than anybody. And it's not like it's just some normal person where he could deny them, and that's what Sukuna hates. But that's also how I believe Gege is writing out Sukuna's own weakness. How Gege is put into the narrative of why Yuji is going to defeat Sukuna. Furthermore, we have also seen this happen once in the past within Jujutsu Kaisen, where a character ends up losing because they try and betray who they really are as a person, which is what I think will happen if Sukuna ends up trying to kill Yuji. And you might be wondering, what am I talking about? And that is Toji versus Post-Awakened Gojo. In that battle, Toji did not have to at all battle Gojo, at all. Toji could have straight up ran. Like, that is something that Toji could have acknowledged. Toji did not have to battle Gojo, but he betrayed who he was, thus he stayed around for the fight and got taken out by Gojo, even though he completely betrayed who he was, because Toji is a person who only kills people when he was paid, but he had no reason at all to fight Gojo. In a similar manner, where Sukuna's whim right now is to break Yuji's soul. However, Sukuna starts to see it's an impossible task, that breaking Yuji's soul is an impossible task. That is likely where Sukuna will really start to lose. However, that's just how I read this speech. That this speech is not just our way of looking into Sukuna's thoughts and how Sukuna analyzes life, but also the way that Gege is choosing to spell out the defeat of Sukuna. The way he's choosing to show us what is likely going to happen. That it will also be the main flaw Sukuna has, as well as a repeat in history of an event we had seen once before that had spawned the strongest. Now, I don't think Yuji is going to take out Sukuna alone. I think it will be a massive group effort, but Sukuna will start to likely see the indomitable wills in others. That they are gaining Yuji's own indomitable will, all to take out Sukuna himself, and that is what's spelling out Sukuna's defeat. However, that's just my opinion, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this video, as well as the speech itself. Anyways, I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out.